Alabama, Ole Miss, the Texas Longhorns. Georgia's got a pretty packed 2025 home schedule. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When you think about Sanford Stadium and everything that goes into games in Athens, it's really tough to play there at night. I think that could be a huge thing for these Dogs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm going to answer the question later. When is the last time Georgia lost a home night game? I'm going to give you some time to think about it because it's been a while. But this Sanford Stadium crowd at night, man, that's hard to deal with. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's a very difficult crowd to start with. But at night, that is a particularly difficult situation to be in. And, I don't know how else to say this, but just first of all, Georgia doesn't play a lot of home night games. They are now, but they do not typically play a lot of home night games. Obviously, when they do, it's usually a big game. For years, the biggest game in decades in the SEC was a 3:30 game, so the likelihood that you were playing a night game, if it was a big game, was slightly lower. Obviously, Georgia and the Gators, they always play in Jacksonville. That game is never at night, and that game's never in Athens. So when you have Ole Miss, Alabama, and Texas coming to town, for Texas, it's not really new for them to play big games at night. I mean, like their contract with ESPN or with Disney, and in some cases with Fox, they were playing night games, big night games. That's just what happened. It was okay. It was something they were used to. In this league, only lately has that been the case. Think about the 2019 Notre Dame game. Gary Danielson, who was covering that game, I hope I said Notre Dame, said that was the biggest atmosphere that he had ever seen in any stadium, period. I would argue that 2013 LSU was bigger, if not, I don't know. It was pretty live, Notre Dame, but LSU in 13 was too, but LSU was not a night game. And a lot of these games lately that Georgia's played at night, you think about the Georgia Tech game this past year. Do you think that it mattered that game was at night? Do you think it mattered that the Tennessee game was at night this past season? There were a lot of games where, Georgia, more and more, Georgia's going to play at night just because of the way that Disney's going to want to showcase Georgia, showcase Texas, people like that. But, I'm just seeing on the schedule for Georgia, I mean, if they don't play at night and at Neyland, I'd be a little surprised, but I'd have to watch that just to kind of see where we're at. Alabama, that's going to be a home night game for Georgia for sure, no questions asked. Texas, almost certainly going to be a home night game for Georgia. I would argue that Ole Miss, Georgia could be at night in Athens. I think that, Auburn for Georgia going on the road at night at Georgia that's going to be a tough ask right there. Even though Auburn might not be great, that is a very difficult place to play. But there's something about there's not something about playing at night in Athens. There's something about playing at a big game at night anywhere. I mean, that's just the truth. People want to say, well, Athens is special. Yeah, but not because of the night games. It's just been increasingly difficult to beat Georgia at home, A. B, to beat them at home at night because there are fewer of those. And then C, the combination. I mean, it's just so challenging to beat this team in pressure situations. Night games are almost always pressure situations. You can just globally look at night games for Georgia. I mean, that includes national championships and Orange Bowls and Peach Bowls and all this stuff. Georgia's pretty good at night. Just generally speaking, they're a good team at night. So, the crowd at Georgia, the thing that you can see more than anything that has improved under Josh Brooks versus Greg McGarity or Damon Evans, the thing that's improved the most is the emphasis on entertainment in and around the game. And I'm not above criticizing Jerry Moorhead, Josh Brooks, Kirby Smart when it's time to criticize them. I have no challenge with that. I think the thing that probably Kirby saw it too, but the thing that Josh saw that Kirby saw at the same time when Georgia was killing Auburn in 2024 and no one cared was there's got to be something. There's got to be more entertainment going on here. There's got to be something that gives people a reason to be excited to be in the stadium. Because the fact of the matter is this: most fans at Georgia are getting, if you want to call it spoiled, that can be your word. Most fans are getting to the expectation that Georgia will just kill everybody they play, and when they're not, there are crossed arms or hands on hips, or what's going on out there. Georgia's not what they were in 21-2, and to some degree 23, and the rest of the league has gotten slightly better, and you're playing the better parts of the league too. So all of those things combined makes for, at times, a frustrating moment in the stadium. And I think that what Josh Brooks and company saw was, we cannot let this continue. We've got to get people moving, that we've got to see them more active in the stands. So when did Georgia lose their last night game? If you remember Joe Cox's last game in Sanford Stadium, you remember last time Georgia lost at night, it was to Kentucky in 2009. That's how long it's been since the Dogs have lost in Sanford Stadium at night. And Georgia needs to get used to playing night games. Last year they played Kentucky, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia Tech at night, and there would have been the Sugar Bowl. That would have been about half of their games are at night, prime time. You keep in mind, too, any game that starts at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, while not designated as a night game, it ends as a night game. So there's a lot of stuff that you can really do to get people, where they need to be mentally and perhaps in terms of thirst with night games. But you also have to, the fact of the matter is, if it goes bad with a night game crowd, it can go bad pretty quick, too. I've seen that at Clemson. I've seen that when Georgia played at South Carolina. I can see crowds getting hyped up and then just their team getting wasted. That happens. But I think globally speaking, when you think about what's the real advantage for Georgia, first of all, it's the players on the field, but the atmosphere matters a lot. It does. And why? So people say, well, why does it doesn't matter that much. It matters, because particularly in football, you can't hear. And so when you can't hear, that puts extra burden on your exterior offensive linemen and just the offensive linemen and the wide receivers, generally speaking, because there's no sort of snap count that you can go on. It's just go. And so that gives the defensive ends a huge advantage if they're rushing the passer particularly. The one thing about that LSU game in 2013, when you think about Leonard Floyd and Jordan Jenkins flying off the edge right at Zach Mettenberger at the end of that game, and he's throwing to premier wide receivers at LSU. And these guys were freaks. He couldn't quite get what he wanted to get because of the crowd noise and Leonard and Jordan just coming after him the whole time or at the end of that game. So I think, to me, the crowd at Georgia is way better than it used to be. The turn of the century, the crowd got better at Georgia. And then over time, during the Mark Richt era, it continuously got better. It's better now because they're winning more. And I think the crowd matters at Georgia a lot. When you think, flashing back to that Notre Dame game in 19, Notre Dame had a ton of penalties in that game. And they weren't holding. They were false starts or, just procedural penalties. And to make getting a first down 50% more difficult is really challenging for an offense. A 2-yard gain is not the end of the world if it's 1st and 10. If it's 1st and 15, you're 2nd and 13. You need to pick up chunk-ish plays to get a first, just to avoid punting. And that's what the crowd at Georgia can do. But I talk about this at a lot of places. I told people over and over and over again, I'm saying this about Tennessee and Auburn too. It was very difficult to go to Commonwealth Stadium and play Kentucky at night. I don't know why, but Georgia has a challenging time against Kentucky up there, generally speaking. But at night, it's very hard for them up there at night. They lost in 96 up there at night. They have had to save themselves in 16. That was a big game in 18. 16 game was at night. When you think about playing Kentucky up there, 22 was, I think, an afternoonish game, but it became night. It was very cold. Georgia did not play well up there. And they did not play well against Kentucky in 24 up there either. It's a hard place to play. Jordan Hare, hard place to play. Some of that's because you're playing SEC teams, you're playing on the road. Oh, and you're playing at night. You got to sit around the hotel all day long. There's a lot of challenges with playing on the road. And playing on the road at night, I mean, Georgia got a lot of that this year. They had 3 road primetime conference games. They had at Kentucky, at Alabama, at Texas. So 3 of their 4 games ended at night. So it's hard to do. It's challenging. But I think that could be a secret weapon for Georgia coming into 2025. Thanks for watching.